Why do I keep procrastinating? I made a to-do list, I organized my desk, my inbox is actually empty, and I still can't seem to get much done. Hi, my name is Ivana, and if you can recognize yourself in the thoughts of the intro, then I hope I can help you out with some of my experiences today, because I am also a professional procrastinator. Therefore, today I'm sharing 3 surprising procrastination reasons which really made sense to me once I figured them out and really helped me to procrastinate less. I'm actually going to tell you the 3 reasons first, then I'm going to explain them, and after that I'm going to tell you how I kind of switched up my work routines in order to procrastinate less, knowing these surprising reasons. Surprising reason why you're procrastinating: number 1, you're telling yourself constantly how much you don't want to do something. Surprising reason for procrastinating number 2 is you're not properly taking care of yourself first. And surprising reason for procrastinating number 3 is you are not customizing common productivity techniques to your own personality. So let's start with surprising procrastination reason number 1. You keep telling yourself how much you don't want to do it. This is a little bit of a tough one because we all love to complain sometimes about things that we don't want to do, and sometimes those things are really crappy things that we don't want to do. For me, that's email. I absolutely despise email, and here I am telling you not to do something and I still am doing it, because if I want to do my email, I have to teach my mind and my brain that I do want to do it and that I love email. I know this sounds very affirmation-ish, just wish that you want to do it and then you're going to do it, but there is actually some neuropsychology behind this. At the end of the day, your brain is programmed to be right. It doesn't really care if it benefits you or not. Your brain just wants to be right. It wants to achieve the outcome that you feed it. So if you keep feeding it the outcome that I don't want to do this, I don't feel like doing this, I hate this, your brain is going to be like, I got you, girl, I'm going to be right, and we are not going to do this. Even if you keep telling yourself that, oh, I have to do this, oh, it's really good for me to do this, your brain will be like, no, you don't want to do this, you hate this, so we are not going to do this. Also, something that's very important to keep in mind here, and something that is still also quite difficult for myself, is that if you sometimes think like, oh, I want to do this, oh, I like doing this, but most of the time you're thinking, I hate this, I don't want to do this, then this is the river of thoughts that you are carving, and actually also the instructions that you are feeding your brain. So don't be surprised then when you do want to do it and you think, oh, I love this, but actually most of the time you have been thinking like, oh, I hate this, I don't want to do this, that this is actually the easiest path for you to follow, and your brain will actively steer you down this path because your brain wants to be right. These are the instructions that you have given it. So yeah, once I learned about this, I definitely started monitoring my thoughts more, how I felt about certain tasks, but I'm going to talk more about that at the end, because here is surprising procrastination reason number 2. You're not properly taking care of yourself as a human being. I don't know if you have kids. I don't have kids, but I've had the privilege to sometimes take care of my nieces for a weekend, and with kids it's so evident when their human needs are not being met. If they don't sleep enough, if they don't eat enough, if they don't get playtime enough, they don't want to do anything. You and I are actually grown-up kids. So just the fact that we've gotten a little bit more disciplined in life doesn't mean that we, in order to function properly and to be optimally productive, we still need to meet our basic human needs. And this means that you need 7 up to 8 hours of sleep at night. Even if you're getting 6 hours of sleep, your productivity is already getting compromised. Then you also need to eat regularly, because when your body is fuel deprived, which is when you don't feed it, your brain is going to be like, wait a minute, we don't have enough fuel, so you are definitely not gonna do those things that you previously have told me you don't want to do. I feel sleep and food are just so non-negotiable for your productivity, and in order to prevent procrastination, exercise I feel is a little bit of a bonus, but I definitely do notice that my procrastination levels go significantly up whenever I'm not exercising. However, if I'm not meeting my sleeping standards or if I'm not feeding my body enough, I'm not functioning. I can barely get anything done. So yeah, once you start tracking that, you actually realize how we are all just grown-up children and we just need to take care of ourselves just as much as we would do with a small child. I have kind of learned how to manage myself, but I'll talk more about that at the end, because here is surprising procrastination reason number 3. You are just applying productivity or anti-procrastination techniques to yourself without customizing them for your personality. What I mean by that is you start making to-do lists, you start cleaning out your desk, your inbox of your email is at 0, and still you don't feel like doing all the things that you're supposed to do. I'll give you an example. I am somebody who needs to finish something if I start it. It's a curse and a blessing because obviously I get a lot of things done having that character trait. I literally get anxiety if I don't finish something. I am kind of like that Sheldon Cooper, I need to finish everything person.
I just told you I don't have a problem with closure.
You sure about that?
I'm quite sure.
But it is also a curse if you are working with endless to-do lists, because I get so overwhelmed, I get so depressed, because obviously with to-do lists, it's very difficult to decide for yourself, when does it end? I know there are a lot of people who, for instance, will make a huge to-do list where, for instance, half of the tasks are very, very simple, like 1 or 2 minute actions, and they just get off on that ticking a list feeling. I don't have that. I get off of finishing a list. And it took me really more than 30 plus years to figure that out. So I have adopted a new technique for myself where I only make a to-do list of max 3 things a day, which I think are reasonable for me to finish. So tasks that will not take more than 1 or 2 hours. So combined, they will not take up more than 5 hours, because obviously none of our days are predictable, and you also always need to keep some time for unpredictable things. Whenever I would have that like long to-do list just focused on like checking things off, there would be certain things which were unexpected and then completely messed up my first to-do list, and I would feel so bad most of the time just because I didn't finish that to-do list. For me, it was very important to figure out that, you know what, finishing a to-do list is actually more important for me than just ticking things off. And you also need to kind of get to know yourself in the things that work and that are important to you. Some people really like a completely clean desk. For me, it feels quite sterile. I think that's how you pronounce it, right? So I don't necessarily mind working in a mess where somebody else would get completely distracted by that. That whole idea of clean your desk first, it just doesn't work for me. For me, that actually feels like procrastination, because I just want to get to my to-do list with 3 things that I want to finish today, and just getting that simple to-do list done of 3 things a day works magic for me, and it makes me feel so good about myself, and it makes me feel so accomplished. Whenever you're applying productivity hacks to your life and trying not to procrastinate, I would say please also mind how these things are making you feel at the end of the day. Do you feel accomplished? Do you feel like you did a good job today? Do you feel like you did enough today? When is enough for you? Those are also some questions that you need to ask yourself. When is it enough? Some people are very happy just sitting 8 hours behind their desk. If I have to do that, I will go mental because I need to get things done. That's the thing that makes me feel good about myself. In order to apply productivity hacks or anti-procrastination techniques to yourself, you also have to understand what works for your personality. And in order to do that, you have to also be very honest to yourself. If some people are extremely productive with certain techniques, I do get jealous of that, but it's not going to make me work harder because those techniques don't work for me and for my personality. So you also kind of have to let that go and trust yourself and your personality, that you are capable enough of doing things as long as the anti-procrastination techniques that you're applying are actually suited for your personality. I guess that's an explanation and some tips on how I tackle that surprising procrastination reason. But for instance, for surprising procrastination reason number 1, my first step was to just start paying attention how I think, speak, and feel towards certain actions that need to get done. So let's take email as an example. I despised email so much that, I'm not joking, I would only do email once in 6 months if it wasn't urgent. Anything that wasn't urgent, and if you have ever sent me an email, you notice, because you might have actually gotten a reply a year later, I would just leave it. That's it. I would just refuse to do email because I despised it so much. And then I talked to my brother, who is also an executive coach, so that really helps. And he told me, you know what? If you are so focused on getting something done, you actually need to incorporate that in that whole email process. Because my problem with email was also that it just never seems to end, and it's not supposed to end, right? It's good if you're getting emails, but for me it just felt like this never-ending story, so I just didn't even want to get started with it. So my brother told me, why don't you just set a timer for a ridiculously short period of time and just try to do that, for instance, every single week. That's already more than what I would do in 6 months, right? Because of that timer, I got my feeling of accomplishment at the end of the task. So for 10 minutes, I would do email, and I was so surprised at how many emails I could get done. I can get 2 to 10 emails done in 10 minutes. That's a lot when you think about it. But when I applied that more and more, I also started thinking more and more, oh, I love email. This is so easy. I can always get like 2 to 10 emails done in 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes. It doesn't matter. And email actually started feeling to me just like brushing your teeth, something that you need to get done once in a while. My inbox is still not empty. I always have around 100 emails in my inbox, but it is so much less, and I am so much more consistent with my email now. Obviously, it will take me a couple more years to carve a new river of thoughts towards email, but my emotions towards email have really changed dramatically. It's still not my favorite task of the day, but I don't despise it as much as I used to do, and I think I will only get better and better at it. Then also something that might help you procrastinate less, with surprising reason number 2, not taking care of your human needs, is don't force yourself to fit in a mold again that doesn't fit your personality. If everybody around you is an early riser and you're not, it's more important to get enough sleep than to adhere to those social standards. Try to get as much sleep as possible, because that will make you so much more productive. It truly makes such a difference in my mood and in my day if I don't get enough sleep. And when I do get enough sleep, it's like, my gosh, angels are singing, tasks are almost getting done by themselves. It's crazy. And once you start paying attention to that huge contrast when you have slept enough and you haven't slept enough, you're definitely gonna try harder to get enough sleep. So that's the thing also, with all these productivity or anti-procrastination hacks, there is a picking order. Getting enough sleep is more important than making a to-do list, because if you don't get enough sleep, nothing is gonna happen with your to-do list. And you also have to kind of get an understanding of that, like what is your picking order, what are the things that make you the most productive. I guess at the end of the day, you just really need to figure out what works for you, what makes you feel good, because I think we procrastinate the least when we are actually feeling happy and content and we actually feel like doing things. I know there is that trick from Mel Robbins where you have to do something within 5 minutes in order to prevent any kind of objections in your brain coming up and yada yada yada. To be very honest, it makes me feel miserable. You know how they always say that you shouldn't snooze and you should immediately jump out of bed? If I do that, you really don't want to talk to me that day. I get so grumpy and I get so angry that I am fighting with myself that whole day, let alone with other people. There's no chance I'm going to be less procrastinating if I don't snooze in the morning. I need to snooze 3 or 4 times and just wake up easily and slowly and everything. I cannot just immediately jump out of bed. That will make me like the most angry person in the world. So yeah, I guess the biggest conclusion is, and the most surprising reason for procrastination is that right now, the tips and tricks that are given are kind of assuming that there is a one-size-fits-all for each of us, and that is not the case. You are your own person, you have your own preferences, you have things that make you tick, you have things that turn you off, and you need to figure that out. I hope that these reasons for procrastination were also surprising to you, because when I learned them, they definitely improved my life and made me feel better about myself, and I became a lot more productive. What is your best advice against procrastination? Let me know down in the comments below, because obviously then I can also learn from you. If you enjoyed this video and if it was helpful, make sure to put a thumbs up. Also make sure to subscribe to my channel, and then I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!